know you're going to say that the win was the most important thing and the only thing that matters, but to be the sixth person to win 600 with one franchise, what is that? That has to mean a little something to you.
Yeah, I had no idea until UD mentioned it, after the game. I don't. It is humbling. Obviously, I always think about Pat and Mickey. Just for having this incredible opportunity to be able to coach with this franchise. I feel a great responsibility to do it the right way for something that they started and created. And then I always think about what Pat told me when he first told me I was going to be the head coach. He said, just embrace it, enjoy it, do the best that you can every single day. He said, but it's going to go by like that. You're going to blink and it's going to be 10 years into your career. And I was thinking to myself, like, I was overwhelmed at the time, just thinking about, all right, what's the next step? Press conference, whatever. And I'm thinking, he's crazy. Like 10 years, like that's felt like 100 years to me. And here I am, already 13 years in. It's humbling to be able to work for, the people that I do, to provide such a great work environment and a great culture. I love the people I work with.
At the 17-0 run tonight, if you blinked, that was over in a second too, like those first 10 years of your career were. How important was that spurt? Because again, it was, it had been kind of back and forth, but that's when, as you would say, that's when you really put your stamp, I thought, in the game, was those 4 or 5 minutes on the defensive end.
Yeah. Look, we're going to be going through a lot of these kind of games. And I think all of these experiences and the emotions and managing the game, the context of the game and fighting against the competition, all of these things are great experiences, to go through. And I think that we handled some things better. It's a game of runs. It's a game of skirmishes throughout the course of the game. And, we won, probably the majority of the skirmishes, but they did a great job of like coming back every single time. But I think we've managed those moments a little bit better, tonight. It still, became harrowing at the end, but you have to expect that. And then hopefully you can grow and learn from it.
Thanks, Eric.
Next we'll go to Anthony Chang.
Hey, so obviously you guys signed Dwayne with the idea of him impacting the game on both sides with his size and just his presence. But is it a little bit of a surprise where he's able to give you what he gave you tonight, especially in that third quarter, just a couple weeks after he signed, after not playing for the first 3 or 4 months?
Yeah, look, you have to be objective about it. When somebody's been out that long, you don't know, without a training camp, without the bubble experience. That's a lot of time off, and you don't know how players are going to respond. But like I said, when we signed him, he kept himself at a very high fitness level. He really takes care of his body, so I think that helped him immensely. And then, it's not like he's a young, inexperienced player. He's a veteran. Experienced player who's played in a lot of systems, and he's been a starter, for a decent portion of his career. So now if you just compact those minutes into what we're doing, 15 to 18 minutes, it's all energy. It's all everything that he does, and he empties the tank, which is great. He was incredible, and it's, we haven't been able to do that, to be able to have that many minutes with Bam on the bench and make a run. And I think that was a big time credit to Dwayne.
Thanks, Bill.
Next we'll go to Ira Winterman.
Eric, for as much as Jimmy and Bam provide you, there's always a need for sort of a support system. What Kendrick gave you by coming back from the injury, and also what Goran gave you by going back to that 6-man role, how crucial were those two contributions as well?
Really important. I think our pace was better And that didn't necessarily translate to fast break points. But getting into our actions earlier, save for those last 3 or 4 minutes, then it really started to slow down. But getting into our actions earlier, to have more time to manage the clock and work different options, I think was more intentional tonight. And both Kanan and Gorn did a really good job of that. Kanan really established himself in the first half. Gorn established himself and put his imprint on the game in the second half. And that's what you need against quality opponents in this kind of, competitive run. You're going to have different pockets of the game where guys, are able to contribute.
Thank you. Congratulations on 600.
Thank you.
Next, we go to Cooper Moorhead.
Yes, but with Dwayne, the last few years of his career, especially during his time in Atlanta, he had been trying to space his game out, and his 3-pointers were going up. He hadn't been doing a ton of offensive rebounding. I'm guessing when he came here, the marching orders were a little bit different because he hasn't been picking and popping hardly at all.
Yeah, and look, he still can shoot. Like I always say this too. I even said it about Bam. Like everybody's talking about how much he's improved his shooting in mid range. The most important thing that Bam's improved has been his 15-foot free throw shot. The fact that he can go up there and be one of our best free throw shooters really is such an asset. And same thing with Dwayne. He's physical. He as a presence at the rim, so he's going to get fouled. He's a really good free throw shooter. He still can shoot the three, so I see it every day, in practice. We need a little bit something different, and that's not to say that we might not explore other things as we move on. But simplification right now is probably the most important thing, and he's a live, active, multiple effort player, which is what we need.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Brady Hawk.
Hey, Coach. When looking at Kendrick and Goran sharing the floor a lot more this season, their minutes have been pretty good offensively. Just what have you noticed from their minutes together, and how do you notice them benefiting from each other on the floor?
Yeah, it was something that I didn't really wasn't like jumping off the screen or in our reports and reviews until about like 2 weeks ago. Started to notice more and more that the combination was actually being pretty effective. So it's something that we'll continue to explore. We need the playmaking right now, and both of those guys, when they're at their highest confidence level, make our offense much more dynamic.
And next, we'll go to Mateo Miarga.
Hello, Coach. How pleased are you when you check the box score and you see 5 of your players had at least 18 points? Thank you.
Yeah, it's one of the things too from the first Chicago game where we had 4 guys over 20. But again, I think our group is a very unselfish group. So the ball will move. When it doesn't move, I think it's more a function of not being really intentional. That's not, guys trying to get their own. So I think we're more intentional of getting into our offense quicker and with more pace, and more guys can be threats when that happens.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Congrats, Bill.